I'm Tom. This is,
I'm Tracy.
and Tracy and I do house sitting around the world. And I started by myself in about 2014, come back to New Zealand, and I needed I wanted to have a nice place to stay, and it was a way to save money. So I posted on Kiwi House Sitters. I posted on other house sitting groups, but they weren't that popular. And then all of a sudden, because of my tenacity, and I understand that you've got to leave the place a little bit cleaner than what you found. And then another thing you've got to do is you've got to ask for references. So we've got between 100 and 120 references now around New Zealand. And that for per people who are stable in New Zealand, we probably have the most references for a house sitter. Yeah, there might be a few others. Prove me wrong. Who cares? But we got references. This is Bella. We're house sitting Bella at the moment. I've house sat two Bellas. If you go onto Kiwi House Sitters and look at my references, in Mosgiel there was another Bella, and Jason gave me a note saying Bella can be extremely vicious. She was a retired pig dog for people, but after 3 days, Bella was just more lovable than this Bella. This Bella is sweet and lovable, but the other Bella, if I was sitting here, would physically have the power to push its head underneath my arms. Dogs don't normally like to be cuddled, but Bella was a very cuddly pig dog, hunting dog. And Tracy and I have had some wonderful experience house sitting. First time, I thought, let's house it. This is a beautiful house. For me, this is a gorgeous house. 4 or 5 bedrooms. They said choose any bedroom you want. The camera's stacked on grandchildren's books. I love having grandchildren in the house because they've scratched and damaged everything. And the owner said, we've got grandchildren. Relax in the house. You're not going to damage anything worse for the grandchild. The whole new kitchen behind us is, she said, once the grandchildren got off to high school, we'll redo the kitchen.
Yeah, this house is about 20 years old, and there's no glassware to break. It's just a lovely farmhouse with beautiful rolling hills and cows outside and sheep in the pastures. It's a lovely house. It's really a great way to see New Zealand, and it's just outside the Fielding area, which is near Palmerston North. And Tom comes up to see his mum, so we can see family, but we don't have to stay with them. And it's a perfect way to get around and save on accommodation costs. Yeah, it's amazing. I've been doing this house sitting now with Tom for about 6 years. We've seen a lot of the North Island. In the beginning 2 years, we've been all around the North Island and we've house sat for a month, 3 weeks, up to 3 months, looking after a pet horse and
Dog and a cat.
yeah, there was a dog and a cat as well, and some cows.
You never know what is going to be a wonderful house sit. A friend who's famous with looking after horses, New Zealand horses, said we shouldn't have looked after it. It had laminitis, which is like diabetes for horses. They said, and Simon knows me, and he said, it's a real serious problem. But the house is lovely, and the lady had converted a brand new shed. And it was all horse stuff, but she had no wall lining on the walls. And it was just a lovely house for 3 months.
Very basic, very simple. We've had some simple, easy house sits like off-grid. We had an off-grid house sit.
For Christmas.
With no electricity. Well, there was a wee bit of electricity and gas.
We had Christmas donkeys and turkeys and geese.
Yeah, it was lovely. So we've seen a lot. We've seen Auckland, across the harbour, and looked after a small little dog for that couple. That we've done their dog for about 2 or 3 times, and yeah, it's just a great way to see New Zealand and Australia as well.
You know, some people, if Tracy and I have the debate, she said she doesn't want to live, first off, she wants, Tracy's South African, I'm a Kiwi. We should do a subject on that subject. Tracy first wanted to live around her friends in Auckland or Tauranga or Wellington. And we could house sit permanently in Auckland. And we've got friends who come from America who live permanently house sitting. Sometimes they have to take a few days in an Airbnb or a cheap hotel. But it is possible. Make sure the house is looked after, make sure the pets are looked after, get the communication going right, and ask for a reference if you've done a good job. Kiwi House Sitters has something very much like Uber. You give a reference, they do a reference. It's not until you both do a reference you can see the other reference. And so it keeps you on the edge to do a good job. You know, no wild parties. And so we could live full time in Auckland without having to own a flat or rent a flat. So it's quite a wonderful way to save money. And
The thing is, there's pros and cons to everything, because with house sitting you have to keep moving around. So you can't have a permanent job in a place because you keep moving, and it's a bit tricky. So a lot of retired people house sit. If you're young and you're working, it's not ideal.
Yeah, it's
but
not ideal.
You can also do it for holidays. If you want to go to Queenstown for 3 weeks, you're saving accommodation, and it's a good way to have a holiday.
I was at North Tech in Whangarei, and the lecturer at North Tech said to me, Tom, do you ever forget which home you're going to at the end of the day? And sometimes, if I'm exhausted, I'm driving, but I realise I'm not actually staying at that house anymore. I'm over in another bay area. And, you know, if people want to have luxurious holidays, we house sat a gentleman who bought his house in Queenstown for Christmas, 3 weeks overlooking. He bought the house because of the view he saw online when he bought the house. And it was in Bob's Cove. He saw the house online, and he was right. The view was fantastic. For the 3 weeks, if we had booked a similar size place, we had to look after one dog, easy dog, lovable dog. We're really good with dogs. Well, I'm good. Tracy's better for cats. You know, Bella loves Tracy. And to book that house on Airbnb, 4-bedroom house overlooking the harbour, overlooking Queenstown, Lake in Queenstown, it'd be $31,000 to book that house on Airbnb for 21 days. 31,000. How much did you spend on your Christmas holiday 2 years ago? You know, so people say, Shane, Tom, this is a hard life for you. You know, but beautiful home. This is a lovely home. Then the following year, we stayed in a container with one electric plug, and a 1930s coal fire, which pumped out too much smoke. I don't like the fire when Tracy wasn't inside the house because there'd be too much smoke. And that was lovely too. And so, what else? Yeah, we'll do another post on positives and negatives. You know, Tracy's mentioned if you live in Auckland and you want to house it permanently, you could do it. Though, to go from Snell Bay, where we housed it 4 times, beautiful overlooking the Auckland Harbour Bridge, to Browns Bay at 5:30, it takes an hour and a half, which is only a few kilometres. It's probably faster to go by electric bike.
Well, now now people do that.
Now people do that. Now you have to do that because of our friend in America. So put your comments in this section. Ask, if you got questions you want to know about house sitting.
Spilling water.
Anyway,
Okay. See you again. Thanks
Bye.
for listening. Subscribe and like. Take care. Bye bye.